There you go.
We just want to start by thanking all of you for taking time out of your very busy days. We understand it's end of the semester and we're really busy. You guys are too. So we just want to thank you for it. I'm Rebecca Durazio.
I'm Abigail Robertson.
I'm Chloe Myers.
And I'm Brianna Schultz, and we're going to talk to you guys about sexual assault and the effects on the University of Mount Union. So first we're going to start with a little video about sexual assault on college campuses.
And some of the country's most prestigious colleges are among dozens under scrutiny this morning. On Thursday, the Department of Education named 55 schools under federal investigation for their handling of sexual assault claims. They include Harvard, Princeton, UC Berkeley, Ohio State, and Florida State.
This follows a report from a White House task force aimed at cracking down on attacks against students. UVA's new legal expert, Vicki Freeman, is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Why? How significant is it first, and why now?
Well, I think it's highly significant, and why now? I think that what's finally happened is that the U.S. government has said enough is enough. We've heard it with the drumbeat about sexual assault in the military. It's been a constant headline, and now we look and the same thing is happening in college campuses. 1 in 5 women sexually assaulted, 1 in 16 men sexually assaulted. It's a culture that activists and the sexual assault victims have said to the government, enough is enough. You've got to look in here, and you have a tool. The Department of Education gives federal funding. You have a tool to make colleges
And these are
accountable.
prestigious institutions.
They're prestigious, they are large, they are small. 55 is some kind of number. The question may be in the transparency of finally giving forth this list of the 55, because no one knows who these colleges are. Usually we find out about them after a sexual assault claim has been resolved. But what's happened now is that maybe you think if you want to send your kids to school, well, this is not a good place. Still a presumption of innocence. These are just looking to see if these schools are in compliance. This is unprecedented. It will be interesting to see if the Justice Department pursues perhaps charges against universities. I think it's possible, but ultimately what we're really looking at here is let's show the public that we are involved. All right, Ricky, thank you so much.
All right, so I'm going to start by explaining what sexual assault is. It refers to sexual conduct or behavior that occurs without the consent of the victim. Some forms include attempted rape, fondling, unwanted touching, or forcing a victim to perform sexual acts. So some people get confused with what force is, and there's different forms of force. A few examples are emotional coercion, manipulation, or psychological force to coerce the victim into sexual activity. One way, this is kind of extreme, but that some perpetrators use force is by threatening to kill the victim, family, or themselves to get the victim to have sex with them. So another thing that is a problem topic in our country is the meaning of consent. Consent is an agreement between participants to engage in sexual activity. Some examples of what is non-consensual is refusing to acknowledge no, assuming that wearing certain clothes or flirting is an invitation, being impaired by drugs or alcohol, and pressuring someone into sexual activity. And then here are some statistics on the underreporting of sexual assaults. Only 20% of female student victims ages 18 to 24 report to law enforcement. Only 32% of non-student females the same age do make a report. And then according to the American Civil Liberties Union, 95% of campus sexual assaults go unreported. So a few of the main reasons why sexual assaults go unreported are there isn't enough proof that the event did happen, so the victims are afraid to tell someone about it. The victims also feel that the crime was not serious enough to be reported, and then they're also afraid of the criminal justice system. So only 3% of rapists will spend a day in jail.
So now that we've talked about the definition of sexual assault and the unreported statistics, I want to kind of talk about the statistics of college campuses and in the United States today. So of the 28.5% of undergraduate students, 23.1% of women and 5.4% of males experience sexual assault or rape through physical force. So exactly what she said through the definition of force, they're being threatened, they're feeling so scared that they can't come out and talk to people. So another one is college women are twice as likely to be sexually assaulted than robbed. So we've always been taught that if something's happening to us on the streets or anything else, to scream fire, because nobody will come if you scream help or sexually assaulted or anything, or rape. So it brings to me big thoughts about how that is a huge number and how we need to bring that down statistically. So in the United States, I'm not going to read every one of those bullets, but 51.1% of women victims of rape reported being raped by an intimate partner, and 40.8% by an acquaintance. And for men, it's 52% of being reported by an acquaintance and 15.1% by a stranger. And I think those statistics being so far apart and greater than women and men, the difference, it's too outrageous, and we really do need to lower these. And I found all of this at the National Sexual Resource Center, and they wrote this article in 2018.
Okay, so Title IX is something that I actually didn't know about until I was a junior in college, and I asked our class about it too, and I think Brianna and I were the only ones that really knew what it was about, which made me kind of upset, because in our capstone, I think every one of us except one is a senior, and that just made me upset, because this is something that protects students that almost no one knows about, and I didn't even know my union had a policy until I looked it up for this class, which isn't my union's fault, it's just no one really knows what it is. So Title IX is an amendment from the Education Amendments of 1972, and it is no person in the United States on the basis of sex shall be excluded and denied the benefits of or subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity that receives federal funding. So basically what this means is that any educational institution from elementary school through post-secondary, if you receive federal funding, it basically holds those institutions accountable for being an advocate for victims or people of sexual violence. And like I said, this is something I never knew about until I looked at for this class. And then also with that, there's the Clery Act, which was established in 1990, which only is relevant to post-secondary education, so colleges and universities across the United States. And it was made after the murder of a 19-year-old female on the Lehigh University campus, which is North Carolina, South. One of the two.
Pennsylvania.
Like that, yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. But the act now is put in place to I'm so sorry. They have to disclose criminal statistics that happen on the campus or in the town that the campus is in. I know Mount Union has a policy, came out in October this year, because patients had me look it up. It's just the safety of 2018, and I never knew that schools had to do that, but now it's a requirement, which I think is great to hold schools accountable for what happens on their campus. And we're going to get into it a little bit of I was going to explain in a minute of how to educate students about it.
So I handed you, everyone, a proposal for change. So with all of these statistics that we've talked about in Title IX, there is so much that we can do on this campus. And even a school such as the University of Mount Union, this does play a role, and we need to figure out a way to eradicate it. So we came up with a couple possible proposals to help lower these numbers statistically. So the first thing that we've discussed is providing some sort of training for students to know how to handle when they're in a situation like this. If you ever find yourself stuck in a situation, whether you're at a party, you're in your residence hall, even just walking around campus at night, how do you handle these types of situations? And as all four of us are women, there are things that we do. Something that we've really focused on in class a couple weeks ago is all the many things that we do daily to prevent something such as this to occur to us. And I think it's so important for us to educate our campus community on what we can do. So the first thing we wanted to do is provide training for both men and women on campus on how to prevent these situations. So how can this training be provided? We talked about how it can be discussed in their first year seminar courses. This is a class that every single student that walks on Mount Union's campus has to be involved in. And I think it'd be a really great place for these students to feel comfortable. They're already in an environment where they've been with these students since they started their freshman orientation. So these are students they're starting their college career in. And it can be an environment where they talk about these difficult topics and how you handle these different situations when it comes to sexual assault and domestic violence and things like that. We also talked about bringing it up for the first time at freshman orientation. This is the beginning of their college career. There's nothing, it's the perfect time to learn about these things because these students are beginning their lives here at Mount Union, and starting this education in their orientation, I think, is a great place. We did talk about how it might come across as some sort of a fear for students, as we're starting here for the first time, and this is one of the first things that are talked about. But unfortunately, in today's world and the way that our society cultivates, I think it's quite important for every student on campus to know about it as the second they walk on campus. We also talked about having all students, especially first-year students, being required to attend the Take Back the Night session. This is always an event where some sort of victim who has risen above comes to discuss her personal story with either domestic violence or sexual assault. And it's and I've been to it every year, and my eyes are always opened after going. And I think it'd be so important for more students to be able to see this situation and see how somebody can rise above if they are caught in this type of situation. And the final thing that we talked about is we have a lot of flyers on campus that you find in the bathroom, the toilet paper and the installments. But and we laugh about it, but people do actually read them. And they always have things about how to handle things like alcohol poisoning. That's something that's always talked about there. And I think something such as sexual assault and how to prevent these types of situations, I think would be really important to post on things like that, because again, people really do read them, and they are taken very seriously. One of the other things that we talked about are counseling services. So currently, Mount Union's counseling services are off campus at our health center. And I like that it is off campus because it does help for the privacy of all students. But I will say a lot of students don't know that we even have counseling services. I, for one, do know I am a student ambassador, so I give tours to prospective students, and something that I always highlight at all tours is that we do have counseling services for all students, and it is off campus for that specific reason of privacy. Campus security can drive you to and from. But I feel as though we need to do a better job at making sure our campus community knows that it is a service that we offer for our students. And the last thing is Chaplain Woodrow. You are a certified counselor, correct?
No, I've been training counseling.
Training counseling.
Certified to be our counseling service folks.
Okay. I've heard a lot of amazing things about you, and I every time I hear something, I always share with students about how much of a wonderful resource you are to our students, and just opening that up and making other students aware of that, I think, is so important. So again, thank you so much for coming to our presentation, and I hope it opened your eyes a little bit on what we can do just as a small community, as Mount Union is, and how we can make such a difference in our country as a whole. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for these ladies?
Comments?
Or thoughts?
Michelle, you're nodding your head the whole time. I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely, and I think some of these things, because you're seniors, there are some things that are happening that are part of your proposal, but wouldn't have been in place when you were freshmen. So, like for example, this year, all of the first year students did have a session and it was student-led, because I think a lot of times too, the information comes across a lot better student peer-to-peer than it does student-to-student. So, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. I think it's important that students hear that information right away. And so this year, for the first time on Saturday, bystander intervention is sort of the direction that it went, was how to step in and recognize a problem and how to help each other to stay safe in these situations, but also reinforce our expectations of students with regard to these kinds of issues, that we have expectations for them and how to live by according to the codes of our institution and the law.
Good to
And
know.
and then also this year they added with our new counseling director, we also added walk-in hours that are actually, well, they were in the chapel, but now they're all going to be over here on
Okay.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they do offer 11 to 1 drop-in counseling even here for those to come in.
Yeah.
So kind of recognizing that some people really like it away, but some
Do like
actually
here.
prefer for it to just be here. So those have been extended as well. And then I do also believe that don't all first coming students have to take an online thing
Yeah.
before they even come here now?
Yeah, the Think About It program, which you might have.
Brina are both transfer students.
Yeah.
I transferred in, oh my gosh, it was a year ago, sorry. And so I had to take it, and it didn't have a lot of great information in it, but I know, I took it seriously, but I know some people.
Right.
So that's the whole
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
So yeah, we do try to make sure that some students have some exposure to it before they get on campus. Ideally, we would like students to complete that before they get on campus, but we'll continue to do that. For reinforcing it too, in particular, we have a large population of athletes on our campus. And so we've been doing some initiatives with athletes because they're, it's easier, like the Take Back the Night, it's hard to require everyone to come. 'Cause who's going to recruit?
Right.
Someone has to have the carrot that makes people go.
Right, and I know that they
To
do
hold people
have,
accountable.
yeah, they do have sessions for the.
But with athletes, coaches can say, you need to be here, and they're going to be there. So we have instituted some programs with our athletes, or we did some peer-to-peer bystander intervention training, but as well, they are now doing, in addition to the online program that they take before, that all of the first year students take, they are each year doing an online program geared towards athletes, and it's on the topic of campus sexual assault, Title IX, all those kinds of things. But very, very much directed towards that, where the Think About It program also involves alcohol, drugs, and sexual behavior. This is really focused on campus sexual assault, so all athletes are happy to complete that online program, and the coaches are holding them accountable for that. So that's new this, I guess last year we did it for the first time.
Yeah, we were a little bit ahead of the curve. The NCAA is mandating
Right.
a
I
lot
saw
of this
that the
stuff.
other day.
Yeah.
But Coach Larry Karras, Elmer Karras, he got on ahead of it, wants to
Yeah.
collaborate with student
Right.
affairs to help provide this training and this information. And now the mandate is fully in place. And
Yeah.
my son goes to another institution and plays football, but they had to go through it as well.
Yeah, so the athletes just completed it a couple weeks ago, and now I've got an online course that's going on to the athletic staff this week. So all of the coaches are also completing a online educational program about campus sexual assault. and
It
Title
makes
IX.
me really happy.
Yeah.
Like that.
Really good.
It makes me really happy.
All the athletic staff. Yeah.
What would you think about, I saw, one of your stats up there is that, or one of the reasons that people are less likely to report that something has happened is because they don't want to go through the criminal justice system and be subjected to that. Some of the changes that are coming down the line for student conduct procedures, even at private schools now, is going to mandate, and I understand the rationale behind it, but I don't think they understand the personal impacts. So if I were to be accused of a sexual assault, the young woman who would accuse me, I have the right to be there and to question her and everything else, which makes it, not dissimilar to, the court of law, and that hasn't been the paradigm in private higher education. I wonder what you think about that.
No, go ahead.
So I have like a law minor, so I've really been learning all about like the justice system, and in colleges more so, it can be more expensive, especially if it's with like a private institution like Mount Union is. And it's just such a long process just to file it to have something actually happen, and it's not just in Alliance. Like it's sad that these things happen for years and years and years, and then when people don't report it, then the statute of limitations where it like makes people not want to do it because it happened 10 years ago, ... So I think that's why people are scared to do it, which makes me so sad. Is like the thing about Mount Union, the like security staff, is that the word? They're the friendliest people like I think I've ever met. Like they are so approachable, and even Alliance Police, they seem scared, but they're also like some of the most approachable people. So I know in other schools, like I use Ohio State as an example, because it's a huge campus, it might not be that way. So I think that's why people, or women and men of sexual violence, are more scared to do it, because it's like, oh, I have to pay X amount of money, I have to get a lawyer, I have to do this. Because it's just more of a process than being like, this is going to happen. And then that person's accuser is still on campus, is still doing this stuff, they still see him. So I think that's a reason that statistic is so, sadly, is so high.
I was happy to hear this morning on the news that there's proposed legislation in Ohio to completely eliminate the statute of limitations. And they don't know because, you know, the congressional session is waning, but in January it may come up again, and the folks who are putting it forth are pretty doggedly determined that they're going to see this through. I think they lowered it from 30 or 25 years to 20, right? Previously,
Yeah.
but now they're hoping to completely eliminate it, so there's not a statute of limitations.
I was just lit up when I heard that.
Yeah, it was on the news this morning, so.
I'll have to follow that.
Mhm.
Something I want to add to your question, I find that I don't know that many people who have been in a situation like this, but the few that I have known, a lot of times they question whether they actually were assaulted. Sometimes they don't recognize what is sexual assault versus what wasn't. They might question like, oh, if alcohol, something like that was involved, like maybe I did, give consent and I just don't remember it. Maybe they start questioning themselves, and I think that's oftentimes why so many assaults go unreported. They just don't know if they actually were sexually assaulted or not.
Sure.
Another component to think about is we are a small campus, so everyone knows everyone's things. Yeah, so if something happens, it spreads around campus like a wildfire. So whatever happens to you, I'll know about it within 3 days. So it's kind of hard to report something knowing that everyone's going to find about it. So I think that's also why it goes unreported.
I think so too. It goes a lot with like victim blaming. Like if they, say for instance, they do report it, but then the cop or whoever's asking them questions, they'll come back and kind of ask questions that are more geared like, so were you drinking this night? What were you wearing? It's always more or less making them feel like little and small and not necessarily putting the blame on the perpetrator and who did it. So I think a lot of people have that in the back of their mind, like this is what's going to happen if I do report something. So they're just like, it's whatever, it's over with, I'll just let it go.
Anything else?
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We know how busy like the last couple weeks of the semester can be. You all have very good positions, and you all are very stressed out and everything. So are we. But like, just thank you again. We
Yeah,
really,
thank
really
you.
appreciate it. So just.
That's an important topic, and we appreciate you taking time to
Yeah.
delve into it.